we were victorious last time we won the die roll. Hopefully we are victorious this time. Hey, and this is a decent hand. So in this case, we are most likely going to play Sylvan Advocate on turn 2. But the fact that we have 2 coming to play tap lands means that we do have to make some sort of decision about that. If we draw another untapped source, it's easy to go Sylvan Advocate and into Nissa. And if we draw a 2-mana removal spell, it makes it easy for us to go Sylvan Advocate with a 2-mana removal spell open on turn 3, rather than playing the Nissa. And now we don't have to sweat it. It would have been a little interesting if we hadn't drawn this Mirrorpool. If I hadn't have drawn the Mirrorpool, I have to imagine that I would just play the Sylvan Advocate anyway and just hope that I drew an untapped land or something to do with 2 mana, but there's a good chance that the Sylvan Advocate is just going to die, which is a little unfortunate. Which has not happened yet. So I think this is a good opportunity to just play the Nissa. Oh, this comes in play tapped? Oh, I didn't know that. This means that the most likely thing to happen is that we play Tireless Tracker next turn, and then we play Hissing Quagmire. We get our clue. And who knows when we'll play Nissa. We are against the red-green goggles deck, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. But it's similar to our deck in that it is ramping up to do powerful things, but it is a dedicated ramp deck. There's nothing that it plans on doing early in the curve. So if our Tireless Tracker lives and we get to fire off this Explosive Vegetation, that's gonna make me really happy. Our opponent has access to literally a metric ton of mana. This guy has got it going. We do get to whack him for a bunch though, which is nice. And rather than fire off the Explosive Vegetation, might be a good time to play Ob Nixilis. Can that get killed by a World Breaker? Cannot be killed by World Breaker, so I think I'd rather play the Ob Nixilis this turn. We do get to get our Sylvan Advocate up to a 4/5, which is pretty sweet, in case our opponent has like a Chandra. So that actually might be the better move rather than play Ob Nixilis. Yeah, we're going to do that instead. Oh wait, this is 4 mana. This isn't Nissa's Pilgrimage. Jesus. That wasn't right at all. Well, this is still a little safer against an opposing Chandra. Now if he plays Chandra, he has to -4 it, which is like the main goal of playing the Explosive Vegetation, so... Also, this means we're more likely to play Nissa and be able to flip her on the same turn, which is good. If our opponent does play something like a World Breaker, which our opponent is, we're going to get to Ob Nixilis it. This is some pretty decent pressure we've got. I mean, our opponent's almost dead. Opponent has to deal with both of our threats, and he's got this Hissing Quagmire to worry about too. So Our line of play might have actually just worked out just fine. It would make me really happy to just play Ulamog against this guy. Ooh, a Tarka. So that's pretty good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's got to have a Tarka plus removal spell here. Is an interesting choice. I think this means that we can just attack with our Hissing Quagmire. Opponent would need a to get our Tireless Tracker up to 7 power. Opponent could have a Fiery Impulse, which would obviously be a problem. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Almost have enough mana to cast Ulamog. So if we fire up this Hissing Quagmire, there's a pretty good chance that we will win, but if he has Fire Impulse, there's a pretty good chance that we just are going to lose, even though he's at 2. I keep thinking this Explosive Vegetation is only 3 mana, but it's 4. The other thing we can do is kind of rush playing my Evolving Wilds, but we could just play the other Tireless Tracker and then play the Evolving Wilds and just get way ahead on cards. We don't actually have a removal spell that kills the Dragon Lord Atarka, though. So rather than getting blown out by a removal spell, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to play the Den Protector and set up Ob Nixilis next turn. Because that means we still get to have a lot of potential lethal threats next turn, but we get to make it so that we're not running into a one of our creatures into just a really big blocker. And he did have the Fire Impulse, so it's good that we didn't run into it. Might as well just do this now so that we definitely get our clue. The one thing that is annoying about this, though, is with this guy at 4 toughness, it means that Chandra can just wipe the board, but at least we got 3 cards out of this guy. I mean, this Tireless Tracker's done a lot of work. Let's hit our opponent for a bunch of damage and generated a lot of card advantage. Seems like essentially like draw 5 at this point. It's like pretty unreal. So this Ward Breaker is getting pretty annoying. Fortunately, we keep our lands. Ultimate Price and Grasp in Darkness are not good in this situation. So we can probably just get this Tireless Tracker to be so big that our opponent just can't kill it. Unless he has Ulamog. Yeah, I think we're going to just be on the Tireless Tracker game plan. So long as we have like the land drops, and with our opponent at such a low life total, he's kind of pinned back. Like he knows we have Ob Nixilis in hand. It's even got to be a little scary for him to attack with the Dragon Lord Jatarka. So like the one really bad thing that could happen is our opponent plays Ulamog, and that would be bad. And we do have to worry about getting punked out of the game by like a big fall of the Titans, but because he doesn't have goggles yet, and if he had the Ulamog, there's probably not actually a different line that we could even take. We could probably set up a lot of pressure. If he doesn't kill one of our lands this turn, we can set up a situation where we can play Nissa on our turn, play a land, get 2 more clues, flip our Nissa, and then make a creature, and then our opponent's kind of a situation where he needs to probably attack the Nissa, and if he does, that's 1 less blocker, and then we can play the Ob Nixilis. So definitely should have cracked a clue in response to the Pyromancer's goggles. And now that we're here, I'm almost like afraid to do it. So if he Fall of the Titans for 2, he could kill this tracker, but not the other. That's fine. He just doesn't have anything. Sweet. At least nothing that he wants to cast. Oh, that's cool. Probably not very good in this matchup, considering how many lands our opponent has. So we are on this plan. 2, 4, 6. We're almost at the point where both of our trackers can just attack into our opponent. Nasty. We can actually could actually Ob Nixilis his Dragon Lord and have this tracker attack into him and he'd be forced to block. That sounds pretty good. Do the Nissa next turn. And I believe he just has to block. Which means his World Breaker's going down too. We just have infinite cards. I guess he could have another Fiery Impulse here that he can fork. That would be pretty good. But if that's the case, we may still be able to just, block with our Tireless Tracker and just ramp up an Ulamog. Great. You got it. Oh, he did one on each so that he'd clear the board. I guess that's a fine way to do it too. It would be nice for him to not cast his World Breaker again. But this is certainly a turn where we can flip our Nissa and cast Explosive Vegetation and set ourselves up to cast Ulamog next turn. And with all the mana, Ob Nixilis drawing us extra cards and these clues, we should be kind of all set. Probably I think the worst thing our opponent could do is just Ulamog us, in which we have like the one of like black 2 colors, target opponent sacrifices a creature thing to get out of that situation. Probably actually have to start worrying about a Fall of the Titans for 10. Obviously with Pyromancer's Goggles. Deal 20. Ooh, well, that's pretty sweet. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if our opponent has like a land and a 1 mana spell, he could Fall the Titans us for 20. I guess it's kind of free given the situation. Just fire off Nissa's Renewal. I wonder why he has so much mana open. Ooh, well, this is nice. Now we're safe against an Ulamog potentially. Could attack him with a Hissing Quagmire, but I want to make it so that if he wants to kill one of our lands, he has to kill basic if he wants us to not have anything untapped. And I feel like we're just as likely to win with this Ulamog, but we have made a potential Fall of the Titans for 20, something that is not actually going to kill us. And once we cast Ulamog and kill this thing, that's also just going to take that line of play off the table. So I feel like we're doing a good job of like cutting our opponent off of outs. Opponent has 5 cards in hand. I can't imagine what he has in his hand. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So even a World Breaker here does not cut us off of Ulamog mana, which is nice. This deck's actually like really sweet. We've been able to just do cool stuff, and all of it has turned out to be fairly powerful. Like in the previous game, we were able to deal with like pretty aggressive rush of creatures. Dark Dwellers. Didn't see that coming. Kinda sweet though. So he has access to 8 mana. You could get another World Breaker. That's what he gets. Pretty reasonable. So now we get to play Ulamog and exile them both. Oh, that's good. Sure. I kill my Mirrorpool? Don't care. Draw my free card. Can't imagine this will change anything, but that's sweet. So I have to imagine the goggles is actually a lot more threatening than the Dark Dwellers or the World Breaker. I think we want to go after the Dark Dwellers because Dark Dwellers could potentially attack Ob Nixilis. So I think we're going to leave them with the World Breaker for now. Even though exiling it is certainly the kind of thing that I want to do to it. So now our opponent needs his own Ulamog. Otherwise he's just toast. The Pyromancer Goggles legendary? They are. Well, maybe killing them wasn't such a good idea then. Generally speaking, I would say that in this game state, the Pyromancer's Goggles is much more powerful than the World Breaker. But even if our opponent does block, we're just going to exile everything but 5 cards in his library. May just be drawing dead. Kind of feel like we're outclassing our opponent in like every way. We have a better early game because we actually have some creatures that we can play. We have better answers to his threats than he has to ours. We have better card advantage. And our end game is like just as good, or maybe it's better because we can answer his stuff while he has a hard time answering like the really big things that we can do. Isn't this thing indestructible? I guess he has to choose 2 targets. Yeah, it just has to choose 2 things. Oh, now we just kill him. Need to get fancy, sack your guy, and then we attack you. That's game. Dude, we just have so many cards. It's like unreal. So Ultimate Price and Grasp of Darkness are not going to be good, despite seeing the Dark Dwellers. Languish is also not what we want. So Pick the Brain seems good. Infinite Obliteration seems okay. Transgress seems great. I don't think we want to play the Great Aurora in this matchup just because he gets so many lands. Our ramp elements are good. Pulse of Murasa is fine. So we have room for one more card. The options, I think, are To the Slaughter, Infinite Obliteration, and Duress. I guess, like, Dark Petition's in the conversation, too. So the best thing to do with Infinite Obliteration is probably just get his World Breakers. Yeah, I guess getting his World Breakers is pretty good. You can play the Infinite Obliteration. Doesn't actually seem that great to me. But I think it's good enough. I would like to have a few more Duresses, but considering we have like to Pick the Brain, the Transgresses, and one Duress, I think we'll Oh, we actually get one more card. Sick. So I think it's just the other Duress. So we have only 3 removal spells, including Ob Nixilis, but we can buy one back with Den Protector. We have Ulamog, he's kind of like threat-like deck. We have the Dark Petition to tutor up what we need. So I think, if we need a removal spell, like we'll have access to it in a reasonably timely manner. But we'd much rather just draw like productive stuff that's going to get us ahead on mana and cards and build a board presence. And this is a pretty slow hand. Don't really like this hand. Be nice to have either an early creature or discard spell to kick things off. This hand literally does nothing until turn 4. Obviously, we'll draw stuff, but the curve on this deck is pretty spread out. So I think there is a good chance that if we keep this, we literally don't draw something to do on the first 3 turns of the game. Not only that, but we need to draw lands. So looking at this hand and saying I need to draw both early action and land drops to make the hand good, I think means that it's just a bad hand. So this hand is not particularly great either, but going to 5 is really bad, and at least we have this Pilgrimage. We do not have anything that's double green. We do have a small number of cards that are double black, and this Pilgrimage is going to be getting us Forest, so it makes sense to get a swamp here. And with this hand, I am basically looking to go turn 3 Tireless Tracker, pray that it lives, and then turn 4 Nissa's Pilgrimage. And this is a good opportunity to see if our tracker is likely to live. So opponent does have the Fiery Impulse, so that means that I'm probably going to wait until turn 4 to play my tracker and play Nissa's Pilgrimage first. Now what do I want to take with my Transgress? Since our opponent is so light on land drops, and Goblin Dark Dwellers actually does, not only is it the cheapest thing, but it actually generates probably more or just as much card advantage, considering that Magmatic Insight is in the graveyard. But I think the Dark Dwellers is going to be what I take. So this is kind of interesting because we are in a we know our opponent has the Impulse. So on the one hand, we could play our tracker and then play Evolving Wild to get an extra clue. We can actually play Tireless Tracker and just a Forest, and then our opponent can't really Impulse it. Oh, he can do that. That works. Oh well. You know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men. Unfortunately, I'm the mouse. Goggles are in. So we can't do anything good this turn, and our opponent has a World Breaker that he's going to be casting if he hits a land drop, so things may actually get kind of bad for us soon. Oh, Jesus. Wow. I just don't know the casting cost on anything. Definitely could have played Ulvenwald Hydra there. Or Nissa's Renewal. Oh man, this is one of those ones where I second guess whether I should let this hit the viewers, or if I should just like stop the recording and start over. I'm going to be able to play my Ulvenwald Hydra on the following turn, which is nice, but certainly could have just been ahead of the game here. So I could get a Hissing Quagmire, but it's most likely going to get killed. So I'll just get a Swamp. This is likely another World Breaker. But I'm going to be able to Nissa's Renewal, make my Ulvenwald Hydra huge, crash in for a bunch of damage. Then I'll be able to play my own World Breaker. And imagine I had this a turn earlier. Be pretty good. Man, a 9/9 is no joke either. That's just serious business. Guessing Magmatic Insight and copying is also serious business as well. Permanence's Goggles is a sweet card. But World Breaker is going to have something to say about those goggles. Oh, nice. So I have 9 mana. I think what I really want to do is kill the goggles rather than kill a creature. Yeah, I can go World Breaker plus Sylvan Advocate, which is pretty sweet. And the next turn I can go Ob Nixilis, kill your Atarka, play Tireless Tracker also. Just kind of rumbling. Oh ho! My opponent's got Tireless Tracker too. Dirty dog. Should have kept in my ultimate prices. So this is interesting. I almost would prefer to kill the tracker rather than the Atarka, because I can block my opponent's stuff and he can't really do anything to me, whereas the Tireless Tracker can generate a lot of value. His other creatures just aren't actually generating any value here. I'm going to save my Tireless Tracker until I have a land to actually play with it. And so that might seem like a controversial play because of how much pressure I can put on my opponent by killing the Atarka, but cutting my opponent off his sources of card advantage are really, I think, the way that I'm gonna have the most success. So my opponent still has to play in a way that you know, he has to worry about me attacking. This isn't going to do end well for him. Yeah. Like, he just can't attack. He's getting closer. If he can kill another one of my lands. Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's good too. So let's see. I think we fire off the Duress first. So I think we take the Chandra, and then we pick the Brain. The Fall of the Titans. And we get to exile them all from his deck. So let's take a quick look. So what do we have to worry about? There's 2 more Pyromancer's Goggles, but all he's going to have is Fiery Impulses that are really going to do anything. He's got 2 Chandra, 2 Den Protector. Not a whole lot else. So our opponent is just toast. We have completely neutered him at this point. He's got a forest in hand. It's a little unfortunate that he can potentially trade with our Ulvenwald Hydra because we were unable to hit another land drop. Wow. Dude, so, like, basically because I didn't play Ulvenwald Hydra on turn 6, because I miscounted my mana, I basically did nothing that turn. Like, I think I salvaged it by playing To the Slaughter on that turn instead. But that's pretty close to me just doing nothing on one of my turns in the mid-game, where both of us are doing our most powerful things. And it seems like I just handily won that anyway. I don't think my opponent's draw was particularly bad. I just think our cards were, like, way better. So that was pretty insane. Anyway, let's go to the next one.